Welcome back to your bedtime companion channel, with me, Moxa, a channel that will take you wandering through the corridors of time, from glorious triumphs to mysteries buried in silence. This time, we step into a new chapter, an era born from the fall of Egypt's new kingdom, the 21st Dynasty, a time when pharaohs no longer held absolute power, and the high priests of Amun slowly claimed the unseen throne. From Smendes, the first king who tried to unite a fractured land, to the later rulers who left behind only faint shadows in history, their story is no longer about absolute rule, but about survival amid the tide of power struggles. So, prepare yourself. For tonight we uncover a tale of intrigue, shifting influence, and the final struggles of the pharaohs of the 21st Dynasty. A story quiet, fragile, yet leaving an eternal mark upon the sands of time. Here comes the complete history. The beginning of the story. After the reign of Ramesses III came to an end, Egypt entered a long and gradual decline. The pharaohs of the 21st Dynasty ruled from the city of Tanis, but their power was felt mostly in Lower Egypt. For this reason, the dynasty is often referred to as the Tanite Dynasty, after its political capital. Meanwhile, in Thebes, the High Priests of Amun emerged as the true rulers of Middle and Upper Egypt. The pharaohs still held power in name, but real authority rested with the priests. The ancient Egyptian historian Manetho of Sebennytos recorded in his epitome that this 21st dynasty lasted for 130 years, a time when royal power was no longer absolute, but divided between throne and altar. And now, let us journey through the brief history of the pharaohs who ruled during Egypt's 21st dynasty. 1. Smendes. Hegekapir Setapenra Smendes was the founder of Egypt's 21st dynasty, who ascended the throne after burying Ramesses XI in Lower Egypt, a region he already controlled. His birth name, Nesbenebjd, means, he of the Ram Lord of Smendes. This name was later transformed by classical Greek writers, such as Josephus and Sextus Africanus, into Smendes. According to the tale of Weneman, dated around 1000 BCE, Smendes is portrayed as the governor of Lower Egypt during the so-called Renaissance era under Ramesses XI. However, most Egyptologists still question the accuracy of this tale. Smendes himself is believed to have come from an influential family. His mother was possibly a woman named Reir, the chief of the harem of Amenemnisu III, and perhaps the wife of a high priest of Amun. If true, this would make Smendes the brother of Najmet, and thus the brother-in-law of the powerful high priests Herihor and Piank. Smendes married Tentamen B, who is thought to have been a daughter of Ramesses IX, and together they may have produced his successor to the throne, Amenemnisu. His name is clearly recorded in the report of Weneman. In this story, Weneman, a priest of Amun from Karnak, was sent by the high priest Herihor to the city of Byblos in Phoenicia to purchase cedar wood, a vital material for building Amun's sacred bark. Before traveling to Byblos, Weneman stopped at Tanis and presented his letters directly to Smendes. From there, Smendes provided him with a ship to continue his journey to the Levant. This account demonstrates that Smendes held significant authority in Tanis, even if his influence over Upper Egypt was largely nominal. Evidence of Smendes' authority also survives in several inscriptions. One, found in the stone quarries of Ed-Dibabia near Jebeline, recounts how Smendes, while residing in Memphis, was informed of a flood threatening the Luxor temple. He ordered repairs, and a report of the successful outcome was sent back to him. Another piece of evidence is the Stela of Exile, dated to his regnal year 25, which records how the high priest Menkheper suppressed a rebellion in Thebes. This year is almost certainly a reference to Smendes' reign. Still, it must be acknowledged that Smendes' real power was confined to Lower Egypt. Middle and Upper Egypt remained under the control of the high priests of Amun, Pinagem I, Masaharta, and Menkheper. Even so, his throne name, Hejkapir Setapenra or Setapenemen, meaning bright, is the manifestation of Ra, chosen of Ra/Ammonius, proved so popular that it was later adopted by kings of the 22nd and 23rd dynasties, including Shoshenq I and Taklot I. Smendes died around 1052 BCE and was succeeded by Neferkare Amenemnisu, very likely his son. Unfortunately, the tomb of Smendes has never been discovered. The only known relic of his burial is a canopic jar that once contained his heart, now housed in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. This artifact suggests that his tomb may have been looted in antiquity. Yet, like many mysteries of ancient Egypt, the truth remains veiled by the passage of time. 2. Amenemnisu. Neferkare Amenemnisu was the second pharaoh of Egypt's 21st dynasty, a ruler whose name had nearly vanished from the historical record for centuries. His existence was only truly confirmed in 1940, when French archaeologist Pierre Montet discovered the tomb of his successor, Psusennes I, at Tanis. There, tucked away inside, was a golden bow cap inscribed with the royal name Neferkare, his throne name, placed alongside that of Psusennes I. That small artifact became decisive proof that Amenemnisu had indeed ruled. Before this discovery, many scholars doubted whether Amenemnisu had ever truly existed. No statues, no stelae, no temples bore his name. Yet, an ancient account known as the Epitome of Manetho mentions a king named Nefertires, believed to be Amenemnisu, who is said to have reigned for only about 4 years. Although his reign was brief and obscure, one significant event can be traced to his time on the throne. The High Priest of Amun at Thebes, Menkaper, is known to have pardoned a group of rebels who had previously been exiled to Egypt's western oasis during Amenemnisu's reign. These rebels were the leaders of an earlier uprising against the High Priest's authority, dating back to year 25 of Smendes' rule. This act of pardon was immortalized in what we now call the Stela of the Exiles, Louvre c.256, which was most likely produced during Amenemnisu's short reign. Beyond this, however, his life remains shrouded in mystery. We do not know his exact origins, who his wife was, or where he was buried. No tomb has ever been securely linked to him. All that remains are scattered traces, his name preserved in gold, a brief record of rebellion subdued, and a faint memory in ancient writings. Amenemnisu stands as a striking example of how Egyptian history often leaves behind only shadows, of a king who wore the crown for but a fleeting moment, yet remains an essential link in the fragile chain of a dynasty. 3. Psusennes I. Psusennes I was the third pharaoh of Egypt's 21st dynasty, ruling from Tanis between 1047 and 1001 BCE. The name, Psusennes, is the Greek form of his original Egyptian name, Paisbekinieniot, meaning, the star appearing in the city. His throne name, Akheper Setapenemen, can be translated as, Great is the manifestation of Ra, chosen by Ammonius. He was the son of Pinegem I and Henatoi, the granddaughter of Ramesses XI. Following royal tradition to preserve dynastic bloodlines, Psusennes married his own sister, Mutnijmet. His tomb stands as one of the greatest discoveries in the history of archaeology. In February 1940, French archaeologist Pierre Montet uncovered the burial of Psusennes I at Tanis. The discovery shocked the world, as nearly all other royal tombs, including that of Tutankhamun, had been plundered in antiquity. Yet Psusennes' burial was found intact, making it the only pharaoh's tomb from ancient Egypt to have survived untouched by grave robbers. Unfortunately, the damp conditions of the Nile Delta had destroyed the wooden artifacts and organic objects inside, unlike the much drier environment of the Valley of the Kings where Tutankhamun was buried. Even so, the surviving metal treasures were nothing short of extraordinary. Psusennes' funerary mask, made of gold and lapis lazuli with glass inlays for the eyes and eyebrows, is considered one of the masterpieces of the Tanis treasure. Today, it is housed in the Cairo Museum. His fingers and toes were encased in golden sheaths, with his nails intricately detailed, and he was buried wearing elaborate rings and golden sandals, a dazzling display of wealth at a time when Egypt itself was in decline. The outer sarcophagus of Psusennes was recycled from an older royal tomb in the Valley of the Kings, a common practice during the Third Intermediate Period. Inscriptions show that it had originally been made for Merenta, the successor of Ramesses II. Psusennes himself, however, was placed inside a silver coffin adorned with gold. Silver was far rarer than gold in Egypt, making this an exceptional sign of luxury. During his lifetime, Psusennes ruled for a notably long period. Sources suggest his reign lasted between 41 and 46 years, with some scholars estimating as many as 51 years. He was also remembered as a builder king who transformed Tanis into a true royal capital. He fortified the city with defensive walls and expanded its great temple dedicated to the Theban triad of Ammonius, Mut, and Khonsu. Many building blocks were transported from the abandoned city of Pyramus, including massive obelisks still inscribed with the name of Ramesses II. In 1940, Dr. Douglas Derry examined the mummy of Psusennes I and determined that he had died in old age. His teeth were badly worn, riddled with cavities, and he suffered from severe abscesses as well as chronic arthritis. Derry even suggested that Psusennes may have been paralyzed in his final years. Although his reign took place during a time when royal authority in Egypt was waning and the high priests of Ammonius in Thebes wielded enormous power, Psusennes I left behind a remarkable legacy. His intact tomb elevated him to one of the most significant pharaohs in the history of Egyptian archaeology, the star of the city who continues to shine brightly thousands of years after his death. 4. Amenemnisu. Amenemnisu was a pharaoh of ancient Egypt from the 21st Dynasty who ruled around 1001 to 992 BCE, although other sources place his reign between 993 and 984 BCE. He succeeded Psusennes I at Tanis, continuing the long reign of his father, possibly through a period of co-regency. The existence of this co-regency remains debated. Some evidence from linen wrappings mentions the year 49 of Amenemnisu, which seems connected to the year 49 of Psusennes I. Some scholars argue the reference may in fact concern the high priest of Ammonius Menkaper, not Psusennes. However, Egyptologist Kenneth Kitchen continues to support the theory that Amenemnisu did indeed reign jointly with his father during the latter's final years. During his reign, Amenemnisu also bore the title High Priest of Ammonius at Tanis, just as Psusennes had before him. He was fully recognized as pharaoh in Thebes, where the high priests of Ammonius at the time, Smendes II and Psusennes II, recorded his name in their funerary objects. Even the Book of the Dead belonging to a ship's captain named Penistoi, dated to year 5 of Amenemnisu, serves as solid proof of that recognition. Although his reign did not leave behind many monuments, Amenemnisu is credited with continuing the decoration of the Chapel of Isis at Giza and adding constructions in Memphis. According to Manetho, Amenemnisu, called Amenemnisu in Greek, ruled for 9 years, which aligns with archaeological evidence. No wife or children are known, and he was succeeded by Osorkon the Elder, a ruler without direct blood ties to him. An analysis of Amenemnisu's skeleton by Dr. Douglas Derry revealed that he was a well-built man who died at an advanced age. He is thought to have suffered an infection in his skull that developed into meningitis, which may have claimed his life. He was first buried in a small tomb at Tanis, Nrt 4, which contained only one burial chamber. Years later, during the reign of Siamun, he was moved to tomb Nrt 3, next to Psusennes I, in a chamber believed to have once belonged to his mother, Mutnijmet. The discovery of his tomb in April 1940, just a month before the Nazi invasion of France, was made by Pierre Montet and Georges Goyen. Because of World War II, the excavation had to be halted and was only resumed after the war ended. The complete report was not published until 1958. When the excavators entered the small burial chamber, they found a plain granite sarcophagus, several vessels including canopic jars, a basin for washing the mummy, and a heap of about 400 ashaptis. Inside the sarcophagus was a gilded wooden coffin containing the mummy of Amenemnisu, complete with a gold mask, necklaces, bracelets, rings, a cloisonné collar, and 2 pectorals. Interestingly, 4 of these items bore the name of Psusennes I, possibly gifts or heirlooms from his father. Amenemnisu's funerary mask depicted him as a youthful king, though Georges Goyen once wrote that when first uncovered, the mask's face seemed anguished and pleading. After restoration, the expression changed to appear more serene. All of these burial treasures are now housed in the Cairo Museum. Yet compared to his neighbor Psusennes I, who was buried in a solid silver coffin and a full gold mask, Amenemop's burial was far simpler. His coffin was merely gilded wood, and his mask likewise less elaborate. Although his tomb was discovered intact, Amenemop's story took a tragic turn in modern times. On September 16, 2025, shocking news emerged. A gold bracelet inlaid with lapis lazuli beads belonging to Amenemop was stolen from the restoration laboratory of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, Cairo. 2 days later, it was revealed that the thief was one of the museum's own restorers. He sold the bracelet to a jeweler for 180,000 Egyptian pounds, around $3,700, who then resold it to a gold smelter for 194,000 pounds, around $4,000. Tragically, by the time authorities arrived, the ancient bracelet had already been melted down, lost forever as an artifact. All those involved were arrested and the proceeds confiscated, but the loss left a deep wound, a 3,000-year-old relic destroyed in mere hours by human greed. Amenemop may not have been as grand as Ramesses II or as splendid as Tutankhamun, but his life and death reveal another face of ancient Egypt, a time of transition, simpler tombs, yet still containing treasures beyond price. Now, with part of his legacy tragically erased, his name nonetheless remains recorded as one of the pharaohs laid to rest at Tanis, the king who sleeps beside the star of his father. 5. Osorkon the Elder. Akheper-seti-Penra Osorkon, better known as Osorkon the Elder, was the fifth pharaoh of Egypt's 21st dynasty. He was the first ruler of Egypt to come from the Meshwesh, or ancient Libyan people, marking a significant moment when foreign influence entered the throne of the pharaohs. In Manethos records, he is sometimes referred to as Osorkon. Osorkon was the son of Shoshenq I, the great chief of the Ma, and his wife Metenweshket I, an influential woman known by the title Mother of the King. Through this lineage, Osorkon was also the brother of Nimlet I and Tentshepa I, and the uncle of Shoshenq I, the founder of the 22nd dynasty. Thus, it was through Osorkon that the Libyan dynastic line in Egypt first began to emerge. For a long time, the very existence of Osorkon the Elder was doubted. Many Egyptologists considered him to be little more than a shadowy figure. It was not until 1963 that Eric Young discovered solid evidence, an inscription from Karnak recording the appointment of a temple priest named Nespaneferhor in year 2 of the reign of a king bearing the throne name Akheper-seti-Penra. 1 generation later, the priest's son, Hori, was installed in year 17 of Pharaoh Siamun's reign. By comparing these chronologies, Young concluded that Akheper-seti-Penra must be Osorkon the Elder. Although the hypothesis was initially debated, further evidence later strengthened his identity. In 1976-77, Jean Yoyat uncovered a genealogical record that explicitly named Metenweshket as Mother of the King. Since there was no other pharaoh named Osorkon with the same mother, the case for Osorkon the Elder became increasingly secure. There is also an intriguing reference to a woman named Queen Karimala, who was titled both King's Daughter and King's Wife. She may have been the daughter of Osorkon the Elder. From an inscription at the Temple of Semna, it is known that she lived in the 14th year of a pharaoh, likely Siamun or Psusennes II. Modern scholar Chris Bennett suggested that Karimala may have married Siamun, allowing her to replace Neskons, a major religious figure in Nubia, after her death. If true, this would show how Osorkon's family connections extended deep into Upper Egypt and Nubia. For centuries, various faience seals and stone blocks inscribed with the name Osorkon were attributed to another king, Osorkon IV. But in 2000, Frederick Peyrado clarified that these actually referred to Osorkon the Elder. From this, it became clear that his throne name was Akheper, with the epithet Seti-Penra or Seti-Peneman. According to astronomical calculations by Rolf Krauss, the second year of Osorkon the Elder's reign corresponded to 990 BCE. This means he ascended the throne around 992 BCE, just a few years before the recorded appointment of Nespaneferhor. Osorkon the Elder ruled for 6 years, as recorded by Manetho. He was then succeeded by Siamun. Some scholars believe Siamun may have been Osorkon's son, while others argue that he was a native Egyptian noble with no blood connection. Although his reign was short, Osorkon the Elder carried great significance in history. He served as the bridge between the fragile 21st Dynasty and the rise of the 22nd Dynasty, the Libyan line that would rule Egypt for more than a century. Through him, we witness the beginning of Meshwesh political dominance in the land of the Pharaohs, a new chapter amid the decline of Egypt's new kingdom. 6. Siamun. Neter Keper Seta Peneman Siamun. A name in Egyptian meaning the divine manifestation of Ra, chosen of Ammonius, son of Ammonius. With such a title, Siamun stood not only as a ruler but also as the earthly representative of the gods. He was the sixth pharaoh of the 21st dynasty and is regarded as one of the strongest kings after Psusennes I. His reign was fairly long, lasting at least 17 years. During that time, he left tangible marks through building projects, politics, and possibly military campaigns. In Lower Egypt, Siamun carved out his legacy with grand constructions. He expanded the temple of Ammonius at Tanis, added 6 massive stone pillars to the temple complex at Memphis, built in Heliopolis, and left inscriptions at Pyramus. In Mezan, he even founded a new temple dedicated to the god Horus. These were not only symbols of prosperity but also messages to the world that Egypt, though long past its new kingdom glory, still had powerful rulers. Yet Siamun's power was not built on stone and monuments alone. The politics of his time were filled with intrigue. In Thebes, the high priests of Ammonius, such as Psusennes II, still wielded immense power. They oversaw the reburial of royal mummies from the Valley of the Kings into hidden caches at Deir el-Bahari. Even so, Siamun's name appears on several Theban monuments, a sign that his authority was recognized even in Upper Egypt, which often acted under its own power. One of Siamun's most famous legacies is a victory relief in the Temple of Ammonius at Tanis. The image shows him with a raised mace, about to strike down an enemy, the classic image of a triumphant pharaoh. On the relief, his name is inscribed clearly: Siamun, beloved of Ammonius. Egyptologist Kenneth Kitchen interprets this relief as evidence of Siamun's victory over the Philistines at the city of Gezer. From this comes a fascinating story, that Siamun may have married his daughter to King Solomon of Israel as part of a political alliance, with Gezer given as a dowry, strengthening ties between Egypt and the rising Israelite kingdom. However, like many tales of ancient Egypt, this theory remains debated. Some scholars dismiss it as legend. Paul S. Ash, for example, argued that the relief does not depict an actual battle but rather a symbolic scene. He pointed out that there is no archaeological evidence that the Philistines ever used the double-headed axe shown in the relief. He even doubted any direct connection between Siamun and the events at Gezer. This debate has never been fully resolved. Was Siamun truly a victorious war leader, or merely a king who used the imagery of conquest to reinforce his power? Historians may never reach a definitive answer. What is clear, however, is that during his reign, Siamun also paid attention to the priesthood and religious affairs. Records state that in his 16th year, a land sale was made among minor priests of Ptah in Memphis, evidence that he was involved in day-to-day religious matters, not just monumental projects. As for his death, mystery once again surrounds him. His original tomb has never been found. Some scholars suggest it was lost to the Nile, and that Siamun's body was later reburied in the tomb complex of Psusennes I. 2 badly damaged mummies were found there, and one of them may have been Siamun. Siamun is also often linked to Manethos' record, which mentions a king named Sennacherib. Many believe this is a corrupted form of Siamun's name, though not all scholars agree. Despite the uncertainties, it is clear that Siamun was an important figure. He ruled during a difficult time, when Egypt was no longer the dominant world power, yet still strove to maintain its dignity. Through building works, symbols of victory, and possible marriage alliances, Siamun sought to ensure Egypt remained visible on the great stage of the ancient world. And from all of this, one truth stands out. Siamun was a pharaoh who tried to revive Egypt's greatness amidst the collapse of the old order. He was the face of a nation still determined to stand tall, even as the shadows of decline loomed on the eastern horizon. 7. Psusennes II. At the twilight of the 21st dynasty, there stood a king named Tit-Keperur, or Tayet-Keper-Seta-Penra Psusennes II, sometimes also known as Horpes Bikinianiat II. His name means, the image of the transformation of Ra, a title steeped in religious significance and symbolism, as if to mark him as the ever-changing, regenerating reflection of the sun. Psusennes II is a mysterious figure. He is often equated with Psusennes III, a high priest of Ammonius in Thebes. And indeed, evidence suggests that he served both as king in Tanis and as high priest in Thebes, two roles that were usually separate. A significant graffito from the Temple of Abydos shows his full titulary, Tayet-Keper-Seta-Penra Pace Bikinianiat Mariamun, naming him simultaneously as king and high priest of Ammonius. In other words, Psusennes II never truly relinquished his priestly office in Thebes, even after donning the royal crown. Sources from his reign are scarce, but fragments remain: the Abydos graffito, an Osorkon from El-Quayab, inscriptions at Karnak, and the traces of his burial. He is thought to have been interred in a gilded coffin, adorned with the royal uraeus, discovered in the antechamber of Psusennes I's tomb at Tanis. It was there that Psusennes II's mummy was found, though badly damaged. Psusennes II was the son of Pinagem II and Estemkeb, the high priest of Ammonius in Thebes. His family ties illustrate how thoroughly religion and politics were intertwined during this era. His daughter, Motker-B, even became the great royal wife of his successor from the 22nd dynasty, Osorkon I. In this way, Psusennes II served as the direct link between the fading 21st dynasty and the rising 22nd. Historians have long debated the length of his reign. Manetho records either 14 or 35 years, though scholars like Kenneth Kitchen often settle on 15 years. Yet modern research has shed new light. A block of priestly records from Karnak, published by Frederick Peyrado, notes a key event: the installation of a priest named Nisanka-Fenmet to the chapel of Ammonius Re at Karnak, dated to year 11 of a king named Psusennes. This record is further confirmed when Nisanka-Fenmet's son, Hor, later appears as a priest under Osorkon I. Generational calculations indicate that this year 11 must belong to Psusennes II, not another king. For the first time, we gain a fixed date for his reign. Then there is the great Dakhla Stela, which records a land list from year 19 of a pharaoh Psusennes. At first, scholars assumed this referred to Psusennes I, but chronological analysis fits far better with Psusennes II. If true, this would mean his reign lasted much longer than 14 years, perhaps 19, or even 24. Equally fascinating is the evolution of royal titulary revealed during his reign. Previously, the word pharaoh meant simply great house, referring to the royal palace, not a title for the ruler himself. But under Siamun, Psusennes II's predecessor, the word began to be used as a direct designation for the king. By Psusennes II's time, this usage had become firmly established. A graffito from Abydos even explicitly names him as Pharaoh Psusennes. This marks an important milestone, the birth of the title pharaoh as we know it today. Although his traces are faint, the evidence shows that Psusennes II was a true king, not merely a shadow of a high priest. He ruled from Tanis, commanded influence in Thebes, and carried Egypt through a fragile transition. He also served as the living bridge into a new age, for upon his death, the throne passed to Shoshenq I, the Libyan founder of the 22nd dynasty. Psusennes II may not have left behind colossal monuments like Ramesses or Thutmose. Yet his role was vital. He was the final bridge between Old Egypt and New, between dynasties of native rulers and the coming of foreign-born kings. He was the symbol of the 21st dynasty's sunset, the last glow of light before Egypt entered its next chapter. And so ends the story of the 21st dynasty of ancient Egypt, a period of transition marked by color, complexity, and intrigue. This dynasty was born in the shadow of fading glory, after the brilliance of Ramesses III had waned. The pharaohs ruling from Tanis held political power, while in Thebes, the high priests of Ammonius commanded spiritual and religious authority. Thus Egypt was divided into two poles of power, north and south, coexisting in a fragile balance. We saw Smendes, the founder of the dynasty, who began a new era from his capital at Tanis. We encountered Amenemnisu, once doubted but ultimately confirmed by archaeology. We remembered Psusennes I, the grand monarch with his dazzling silver and gold tomb, one of the greatest discoveries in Egyptian history. We met Siamun, who expanded Egypt's reach abroad through shrewd politics. And at last, Psusennes II, the final king, who served as the bridge toward the 22nd dynasty and a new age for Egypt. The 21st dynasty may not have been an age of great wars or towering monuments, but behind it lies a story of survival. It tells of how Egypt endured during the waning of pharaonic power, through compromise, balance, and the delicate dance between politics and religion. In short, the 21st dynasty proves that history is not only shaped by grand victories, but also by a nation's ability to persevere through difficult times. If you think we missed something, or if there's another figure from the 21st dynasty worth exploring, feel free to write it in the comments below. Don't hesitate to request other history stories you'd like to hear in upcoming episodes. And of course, our journey isn't over yet. In the next episode, we'll move forward into the 22nd Dynasty of Ancient Egypt, an era of Libyan rulers, political intrigue, and major transformations in Egypt's long history. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next stories. See you in the next episode. Good night, and may this tale accompany your rest in peace, while deepening your appreciation of humanity's vast history.